Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Welcome back for another episode. This is Frank Agin, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections and your host for the Networking RX podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in the past. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for sharing this with others. Today I want to tackle the topic of referrals. We've touched on various things with respect to professional relationships, business networking. Many of you are in businesses where referrals are needed. I guess we're all kind of in businesses where referrals are needed. Some are bigger than others, some are small. Leads to people, leads to information, opportunities. It's not always about getting the sale, but we're always looking for help connecting to that next piece of whatever. So I kind of want to reflect on this whole notion. Certainly to get these things, to get information, to get opportunities, to get referrals, you have to look to others to provide those for you. I mean, obviously just giving yourself a referral doesn't make any sense at all. But what we have to bear in mind is that ultimately we're responsible for whether we're getting these things or not. I mean, it's totally up to us. You can complain that people aren't doing things for you. I run into this all the time in the AmSpirit Business Connections world where people are not satisfied with the results they're getting from their network. And I understand that. I understand frustration. I get that. But what I keep coming back to them with is it's on you. It's something you're doing or something you're not doing that is creating the situation. And you need to come to grips with that. As soon as you own that, you don't need to own it publicly, but to yourself that, you know what, it's not working for me. I'm not getting referrals. I'm not getting the information I'm looking for. I'm not getting the opportunities to be on podcasts, speak, so on and so forth. As soon as you own the fact that it's really something you're doing or not doing, then you can set about trying to fix it. So once you're in that point where, you know what, I need to really examine what it is I'm doing or not doing to try and move myself forward, then we can, then you can start to fix things, right? I mean, it's like anything. Once acknowledging you have a problem is the first step. One of the things I do when people come to AmSpirit Business Connections, really all members for the first time, is we get them a checklist. When I start a new chapter, I go over this checklist with the new chapter. And really kind of hit them right between the eyes right from the get-go. It's on you. Whether you get referrals, whether this works or not, is really on you. We have a system. If you do what the things you're supposed to do, this system will work. And so there's a checklist I kind of want to go through with everybody, and it's really applicable to everybody. Whether you're in a business that needs sales every day, sales every so often, or just to sell yourself, influencing others for whatever that might be. So quickly to go through the checklist. There are 10 things on the checklist. Item 1, give without expectation. Help other people. Add value to people. Now, I always tell people you need to give more than you expect. And that sounds like a formula for bankruptcy. But it's really not if you think about it. I'm not asking somebody to give away dollars in hopes of giving dollars back. I'm asking of them to give of themselves where it doesn't really deplete them. A great example is me sharing information, me sharing opportunities, somebody needing guests on their podcast, somebody looking to be guests on podcasts. Those don't really deplete me. Me sharing an article, those things don't deplete me. Giving a referral. You know what? I don't write insurance. I don't have an insurance license. So when I stumble across somebody who needs insurance and I refer the insurance agent, that doesn't deplete me. Those things are ways of giving value to others. And you can certainly give more than you expect in return. And that's the number one thing that people need to do, is they just need to embrace the notion that I'm going to give to others and trust that it'll come back. So that's the first thing. Second thing is make your requests specific. If people don't understand what it is you're looking for, they're really not going to be able to help you. You may give lots of things, and people come to know you, like you, and trust you, but you need to be specific in the things you're looking for. If when you're saying anybody or anyone, it's really like saying no one. The human mind got this reticular activation system. You need to arm that in everybody. I'm looking for a pink VW Bug is way more effective than saying I'm looking for a car. Try to be specific with respect to the things that you're looking for. The other thing we talk about, and certainly this is applicable in organizations like AmSpirit Business Connections or organizations where there's a consistent attendance, is bring materials, distribute materials. Have things that you can hand out, have things that people can take away, have things that people can leave on their desk. Networking and getting from your network is certainly giving to it, and certainly being specific, but you need to stay on people's radar. And part of being on people's radar, certainly when you're giving to other people, you do things that keeps you on their radar. But if something's on the desk that is talking about the specific things you do, that's certainly going to help them. Get them emails periodically, let them know, distribute information about what you have. The other thing you need to do with respect to getting opportunities is you need to take prompt action. This is item number 4. You need to take prompt action with respect to the opportunities you get. I see a lot of people tripping themselves up. They may not be totally enamored with an opportunity they've got, and they'll just kind of like sit on it. And somebody will follow up and say, what's happening with that? Well, I really haven't got around to it. I've been busy. Well, that sends a horrible message. When somebody tells me they're busy, I'm going to stop referring them. Not out of spite, but when I refer somebody, if a client's coming to me or somebody's coming to me and saying, listen, I need to be referred to somebody for payroll or to get insurance, they need it, and they need it now. There was a guy who was in the chapter I started in AmSpirit Business Connections, what is now AmSpirit, had a different name at the time. Payroll guy. I would give him referrals, and he wouldn't make the call. I looked horrible. And he just kind of sent the message that he really didn't need the referrals, or maybe he did, but it really violated my trust in that he was going to serve the client. So if you get an opportunity, somebody shares a tip on some information or opportunity, you need to get after it. And if you're busy, don't say, hey, I'm too busy. Create an expectation in somebody's mind. Yeah, thank you very much. I sent them an email. I'm going to told them I'd call them later this week. Or that's on my list to do first thing Friday. I've got this big program that I'm doing today. But, if there's no expectation, if there's no plan, hey, I'm just busy, haven't gotten around to it, that just sends a horrible message. The fifth thing, let's quickly recap. Give without expectation, make specific requests, take prompt action, distribute materials. Those are the first 4. The fifth one really applies to any organization. Have consistent attendance. There's a saying out there, absence makes the heart grow fonder. It doesn't apply in the world of networking. It simply doesn't. What does apply is out of sight, out of mind. If you're not there, you are going to fall off of people's radars. And that's key for people remembering you for the things you need. You make these specific requests, you give to your network, you want to be on their radar, you need to be around. You need to be around. So work these things into your calendar. Again, if you're too busy, then you're too busy. And then you shouldn't be upset that people aren't getting you the opportunities that you need. But if you're not too busy, then make the time to show up. And it's key that you're there. It's key that you get to talk to people. You don't have to pitch them on your stuff. Just say hello. How are things going? Again, we're trying to stay on people's radars. That's the important thing. That's where the whole notion of dripping information on people is important. And I'm not a big fan of auto drips of information. I know when somebody's just auto dripping on me, as opposed to when somebody is truly checking in to see, hey, how was that podcast that you were on? Hey, how did that software work out for you? Just following up. Those are the ones where I truly know somebody cares and there's somewhat of a relationship there. But have consistent attendance. Now, if you have meetings that you go to, whether it's an AmSpirit Business Connections type organization, maybe it's chamber meetings, meetings where there's kind of a fixed program to it. Maybe it's a seminar. What I always tell people is work in your schedule to come early and stay late. I know we're all busy, but if there's a fixed program, you really don't have the opportunity to talk to someone. If someone's presenting at a particular function, or if it's an AmSpirit Business Connections type event, there's a fixed program there, and you don't have a lot of opportunity to build relationship with people throughout the course of the meeting. That's where coming early and staying late works really well. The group I was in years ago, there were a few people who did very well through the group, and it's no surprise that they always baked into their calendar getting to that meeting a half hour early and staying at least a half hour late. It was just part of what they did. And there were other people there, and there were other people who were there as well, and they would get to know each other, get to like each other, get to trust each other, get to talk about things that they're working on. Oh, that would be good for me. Oh, I didn't realize that. How can we get you in? How can we get you into this mix? That's an important aspect. Again, it's about building relationships. It's about being on people's radar. It's about showing that you care. And so by coming early and staying late, you have more of an opportunity to do those things. Along the same lines, and this is number 7, okay? Associate outside the meetings. Associate outside the meetings. There's 168 hours in a week. If you're in an AmSpirit Business Connections type group, it runs roughly an hour or so. Let's call it 2 hours with respect to coming early and staying late. You know what? There's still another 166 hours to get together with people. Now, I get it. You need to get your beauty sleep. That's 7 days times 8 hours, and that's a stretch anymore. But that's another 56 hours. You still have another 110 hours that you can get together with people. Golfing, shopping, just having a cup of coffee. Again, it's about getting on people's radars and staying on people's radars. That's really what it's about. And so you need to take every opportunity that you can to do that. It can be as simple as just a quick call or a Zoom call just to check in and say, I wanted to see how you're doing. So, the last 3, consistent attendance, they're all tied together. Consistent attendance, come early, stay late, and associate outside the meeting. The other thing, number 8, is get involved. Just don't belong. If you just belong, you're not really making an investment. And the question I always ask people is, if you didn't show up, would you be missed? And if the answer is I probably wouldn't be missed, then you're not sufficiently involved. You need to be on people's radar. So much so that when you're not there, they know that something's up. Why isn't Jeff here? Is there something wrong? Something we didn't know about? Oh, he's on vacation. Okay, fine. But by getting involved in the group and in the AmSpirit Business Connections world, there's lots of opportunity for people to get involved in groups. Go talk to a chapter president if there are things. At your chamber, there are places to get involved. Trust me. At your church, through your kids' school, in the community, there are lots of opportunities to get involved. And when you get involved, you simply raise your level of exposure. Again, you're back on the radar. You're on people's radar. You're giving to other people. People notice that you're there. People want to talk to you. People want to help you because you're helping the situation. And so one of the important things you need to do if you want to be on people's radars with respect to getting referrals, getting information, getting opportunities, is to get involved in that chapter, in that group, in that organization, in that community. You need to find ways to get involved. You don't have to be president. You can be on a committee. Just show up, rub elbows with people as you work to get whatever needs to get done. The ninth thing is that you need to present yourself well. You need to present yourself well, and that there's really a few things to that. One is you need to look the part. Now, you know what? If you're a plumber, not to pick on plumbers, but if you kind of have a blue collar type thing where you're crawling around in crawl spaces and Lord knows where you're going, you don't need to dress up. Certainly have something clean on and wash your hands, but you don't necessarily need to dress up. Or if it's just part of your culture to wear whatever, a golf shirt, fine. But if you're a financial advisor, if you're an attorney, if you're an accountant, there's a different expectation there, and you need to sort of live up to that expectation. You need to present yourself well. Again, that's your opportunity to kind of make an impression on people. But also with respect to presenting yourself well is that when you have an opportunity, in some of these organizations, they don't come around that often, but when you have an opportunity to talk about your business, be ready. I'm not saying you need to have a glitzy PowerPoint or handouts or anything like that, but have your thoughts in mind. Put some thought behind what it is you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, the things you want to educate people on. Again, you want to be on people's radar, and you want them to know when there's an opportunity for you. And so you need to really think through how you can get on somebody's radar and make that impression. So when they see that opportunity, they think of you. And then the last thing, number 10, and this is probably most key, is be patient. You have to be patient. Things don't move forward at a prescribed pace. Certainly, building trust takes time. It takes more time for some than others. And even for some, it might take more time for somebody in the same industry. If you're a new financial advisor, you're probably not going to get the same leeway as somebody who's been doing it for 15 years. They've got a track record. They've got a clientele. People are just going to give them a little more credit, right or wrong, than you if you're 6 months out of the gate. You just need to work a little harder. It's just the way it works. If you're a florist, you're likely to get someone's trust sooner than a financial advisor. You just need to be patient. You're doing these things. As you're being patient, you need to continue to give and make specific requests and get your materials out and take prompt action when you get opportunities. Have consistent attendance. Come early, stay late, build those relationships. Associate outside the meeting, get involved, present yourself well. You just need to continue to do those things and trust that it's going to work for you. It will work. Networking works. It doesn't always work on the timeline you want it to work on. Networking doesn't care. Building trust doesn't care about your sales quota. It just doesn't. And it may not work exactly how you want it to work. You may end up with information when you're hopeful of making a sale, or opportunities to speak when you're hopeful of making a sale, and that's okay. But it's gonna work. But you just need to be patient. Finally, to wrap up, if you know of an entrepreneur, business owner, or professional that seems to enjoy networking, they appear well connected. Maybe they're involved with the chamber or a professional networking organization similar to AmSpirit. They would be a great person for me to meet. They absolutely would. As you know, being networked is vital to success, and receiving referrals is the best way of generating business. It beats advertising. It beats cold calling. So if you know of such a person, a business person or a professional, work into the conversation this rhetorical question: if you had a choice, would you rather be a renter or the person who owns the building? Now, they'll probably chuckle at the question, want you to repeat it. Just, what'd you say? But they'll at some point indicate they would obviously like to own the building rather than being the poor SOB who pays the owner of the building. When they do, indicate that you're familiar with a franchise opportunity through AmSpirit Business Connections, where they're not just paying to be part of a networking group, but rather they're instrumental in building a professional networking groups, plural, and profiting from them. From there, suggest they contact me using the email we provide at the end of the podcast, or we have it in the show notes as well. Or better yet, take that email and email them and include me on that email, just connecting us, and we'll take it from there. I would appreciate that.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.